Now, yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. It's something a little bit different today, and I just want to shoot a video on one of my other passions, and I like collecting vintage equipment, but vintage equipment that I can modify and use in the present day. Now, these are a pair of headphones. They are Pioneer SE l40s, and depending on who you talk to, because it's all a personal thing, but these are considered some of the most beautiful headphones ever made. Now, as I said, I've had my eye on these for quite some time, but all the ones that I found on eBay up for sale, they're all pretty near mint ones with the box and everything else, and they kind of go from upwards up to £200, around £150 to £200. But these came up on one of the searches that I have on eBay. He accepted my best offer of £35. I think shipping was about £3.50. They are a little bit battered, but not battered in a way that they're, they've had a lot of wear out of them. They're just old. I mean, these are from 1972, that kind of vintage. As they stand, the purists wouldn't like this, but I want these to work with my iPod and my phone. So I'm going to have to be modifying these to make them more modern. Basically, the cans are going to come out of these, because in order to dry these properly, you need something like a valve amplifier. I don't have, I'm not interested in having either. But there's a couple of things. I mean, we've got a piece missing from there, but generally the headphones are in pretty good condition. They just need a clean up, and it's all here. So what I want to do is I want to take all this apart, give everything a good scrub with some nice warm soapy water, and then take a look at it and see what we've got, and then see what we can do about replacing the cans in this. I also want to replace these pads. These are rubbish. I want to some more modern ones. Possibly change the colour scheme in a few places as well, because when they are polished up, they do look a little bit Liberace to me, although they are beautifully made. Solid pieces of brass that they're being milled out of. I don't want them to look quite so garish as what they would in their original condition, so I'm going to be making a few changes. Some ideas I've had for a while. As I say, I've been had my eye on these for quite some time in order to buy some, but we'll see what we can do when we get all the parts laid out and see what we've got to play with and what sizes we've got and everything else. As far as the cans are concerned, I've got a few that I can use. I've got some nice cans that I've took out of some Beats Solo 2, I think they are. I've got a few bits and pieces anyway, stuff that I save over the years, broken headphones and that sort of thing. But yeah, first of all, I'm going to completely take this apart, lay all the parts out, and then we'll see what we've got to play with. Now, here are all the parts in front of me, and some things I've already worked out what I'm going to do with this. Some things I'm still thinking about, and as I assemble all this together with the modification, we'll probably work those out as we go. But there's a few things that we're not going to use straight off the bat. I'm not going to use any of this cable whatsoever. It's potentially got breaks on the inside of this cable. It's just, it's very old. Probably got a little bit of corrosion in there as well. We've just got better cable these days, so none of that is going to be used. I'm not going to be using these in any way. I've seen people who want to modify these and keep these as pure as they can. They remove this foam from here to get a better sound travelling through there, but yeah, I'm not going to use any of those. And the cans themselves, I'm not going to use those. I've already mentioned that. If you see this plastic housing here, I may well remove that from the speaker and use that. I don't know. I haven't made my mind up yet. But these just don't work well, especially with something like an iPod. It's just, it's... I mean, people say, even if you use a decent amplifier, it's still limiting on certain ranges of the sound. But, that, again, everybody's hearing is different, so everybody have different views on that. But these, I'm just not going to use them with anything like what I'm going to use them for, so they're going to go. So I'm left with all these here in front of me. I've only got one of those, as you know, so I'm going to have to come up with something else. Chances of me finding one of those online are very slim to none, but I've also got the band here, and I want to give everything a good scrub. This band is riveted on here and here and here and here, so I'm going to drill those rivets out so I can disassemble it properly and work on this lever as well. I can just rivet that back together again, but they are nice rivets that are in there, but you're not going to see the rivets I put in when everything goes back together again. Now, as I said, I've given everything a good scrub in some mild warm water, just mild soapy water, just a little bit of detergent in there. I've got a lot of grime off. I mean, the water was extremely dirty, which is to be expected. It was made around 1972 and I was 4 years old then. But I've read every thread that's on every forum about these headphones over the years. As I said, I've had my eye on them for quite a while. And in every one of those threads over on the headphone forums, everybody assumes that this is brass. This is not brass. This is some kind of alloy. It's far too light for brass, and it's got this brass colour on here, maybe real brass plating on here, but I can tell you it's not solid brass. And some of the photos I've seen of these headphones over the years, some of them look almost aluminium colour on these rings here, and I did kind of think possibly they put a couple of different versions of these out, but or it could be, you know, somebody's camera not picking up the colours correctly. But I think what's happened is probably some people have cleaned these up and possibly tried to buff these. Now, because this is only plate, if I tried to buff this, the plate would come off straight away. I know that from experience, so I'm being very, very careful. As I said, it's been scrubbed in some detergent. I'm now going in with some isopropyl alcohol and some Q-tips, cleaning up the little edges and corners, etc. And I'll probably use some very, very fine wire wool just to give this a little bit of a final polish and finish. But if I were to put this on the buffer, it would all come off. I mean, you can see, you're probably not going to pick it up on camera, but on the edges where we get a bit of wear over the years, you can see that it's an aluminium colour under there. It is some kind of alloy. It's definitely not brass. Now, working my way through cleaning all this, I'm not going to video this because just watching me clean stuff is a bit boring, but this is the sprung steel on the headband. You can see we've got some corrosion spots along here, and that's probably down to it may have got wet sometime in its past, possibly something spilt on there and was never dried out properly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a good clean, try and get as much of the rust off as I can, and then I've got some rust treatment that you use on cars, and I'm just going to put it on here just to try and stop the rust from spreading. You're not going to see this because it's underneath the leather, but I just don't want it to spread any further. But to be quite honest with you, as long as it's kept dry, even if I didn't treat this rust, it'd probably take a quite an extraordinary amount of time to work its way through there. But yeah, it's interesting. Now, one thing that I decided I was going to do with these headphones long before I picked up this pair is the silver mesh that's in this. I always planned on spraying that matte black. I just think it knocks this down a peg, makes it look a little bit more modern and stylish, and less kind of a Liberace feel to these headphones. I think it's going to make them look a lot more stylish and modern. But because I've done that to the mesh with the matte black there, it does make this inlay ring that's black a little bit tired now. So I'm going to the effort of masking that off and just putting a light covering of matte black spray paint on there just to tidy it up, freshen it up, and make it look a little bit more modern and tie in more with the black mesh. Now I just want to run through how I'm going to rebuild these headphones and put the new drivers in. This is the back part of the headphones where you've already seen me. I've sprayed it black. I think it looks a lot better. These headphones are classed as open headphones, so sound would normally come out of these when they're on your ears. They're not closed. Somebody sitting next to you will easily hear what you're listening to. I don't like those kind of headphones, and these drivers that I'm going to be using have come out of some closed headphones, so I've decided to close them up. I've just got some polystyrene. I've shaped it into the shape of that cone, like you can see with this one here, and it's just placed in there. It's not held in with any glue or anything like that. That is that part of the headphone, so that's going to sit in like it normally would. So it sits in like that. Okay. Now we have this ring part that went around the original drivers. This is the one from the opposite side here. I've just trimmed a little bit on the inside so we can fit these new drivers in. These particular drivers are from some Beats Studio 2 headphones. I think they are pretty decent sounding. A lot of people complain that they have a little bit too much bass, but because these have come out of the Bluetooth version, I think a lot of that bass comes from that Bluetooth board that's in there, so they should be fine on their own like this. And that's just supported in there with friction, no glue or anything. It's going to do a fine job of holding that in place. So this is an original part, and that's going to be refitted in there. What I'm going to do to fit it in permanently, so once I've got that clicked into place, to permanently fix these, I'm just going to do what they originally did. I'm just going to put a little dab of epoxy on the top of each one of those. That'll be fine just to hold that in place. Now, to hold the cushions in place, I've got a wooden ring here with 3 holes drilled into it, and I've got a ring from a different pair of headphones. Unfortunately, I've snapped one of the posts off there, but it's fine. There's still enough force there to hold everything together. The cushions go around these rings, and then these rings just are fitted into those holes there, so that will hold the cushions in place. And finally, I'm going to use the original perforations here to protect the speaker, and I'm just going to epoxy that in place. A couple of little dabs of epoxy in place there will hold that on. So that's how basically I'm going to be rebuilding these headphones. So pretty straightforward, and also because of this ring and everything else, pretty easy to disassemble if I need to replace these cans in the future. So I've got the headband. I've been working on this. I'm going to put another couple of goes with the conditioner with the leather, but it's come out really nice. I'm pretty pleased with that. The riveting has come out nice as well. I mean, it's hidden. You can see on this side I've put the cap in place. It hides the rivets anyway, so I'm pretty pleased with that. We can move this a lot easier than we could before. This cable, I've replaced the cable with some more modern stuff, and if you're struggling to find this kind of cable here with the material in there, a good place to find this from is from USB cables, phone charging cables, that sort of thing. Get some really good wire inside there, and it's perfectly fine for audio stuff, and that's where this particular cable has come from. Now, one thing that people struggle with this kind of wire is threading it through the hole and having it bunch up like it is there. But a little trick you can do is just pull a little bit of that back, and this is why I've got quite a long length of wire on here as well, is take a little bit off and then pull that fibre back like so, and then what I'm going to do is put a little bit of super glue on the end of there, not too much, and just give it a twist. And now should hold everything together while we thread it through the hole. Then we can just trim this to length and strip our wires back. Now I've made progress on this side, and I think you'll agree that looks pretty good. I'm really pleased how this side has turned out. Also had to apply a little black spray paint to these rings that I made, just so you know it covers the rings up, because you can slightly see them under there, underneath the pads themselves. But yeah, I'm really pleased how that's turned out. But I'll show you more detail on this side, because this side I want to modify it slightly differently. I don't want a lead coming out. I want to be able to plug a lead in, so I'm going to have to do quite a bit more modification on this side than I did on this side. But yeah, I'm pleased with that. Now the opposite side of the headphones is going to be there's a little bit more to it, because I don't want to have the cable coming in on this end like you would normally and connect that to your stereo or your iPod. I want to use one of these little jacks here, so I can have a separate cable. Then if the cable breaks, you just replace the cable. I just prefer headphones like that with a detachable cable. So I'm using this here, and I need to open this hole up slightly to fit this in. This is a 6mm diameter on this, or 6.1mm, just a little bit over. But I'm slowly drilling this out to get it to the correct size. But I said at the beginning of the video I thought this was a metal alloy. It's not, it's plastic. So it's a brass coated or brass colour on plastic. It's not an alloy. And I didn't expect that from something from 1972, to be quite honest with you. Now, as I said, this side is going to be a little bit more difficult, but this is the ring that was originally placed in here, and the can is going to be going in the middle of this ring, but obviously because I've got this in there now, it's not going to fit. So I'm going to have to chop this up. I'm going to use some of it, but I'm going to have to chop a big part of it off here and try and get it in there, and also try and make room for all the wires. Interesting thing to note that this is an identical ring to the one on the opposite side, but here they've got something like a soldering iron to modify it to let the wire out on this end, and you can see where they've melted it with the soldering iron. Just imagine 1972, the production line, with everybody melting these rings with their soldering iron, the fumes going up there. I mean, we live in a different world today, especially where employment rights are concerned, especially in the UK, and these would have been put together in the UK as well back then. Now this has taken a little bit of modification, and this is what's difficult to show in a YouTube video, but I've modified this so it holds the can in place there, and we've got this adapter so we can plug an audio cable in, but I need to glue everything in place. But that will hold the can now, but I've had to seriously modify this. I've cut a gap there so the cable can come down in through that gap, and we can attach it to this can, and then we can also route the cables around. I think I'm going to go underneath, to be honest with you, and come up through here and then solder them onto the pins on here. But I've had to remove quite a bit of material with the Dremel, and also put a curve into that there like so, without you know, damaging it too much. I mean, we removed that plastic there, so it's going to be fine sat in there. But that's the kind of modification that I've had to do with this. So now I just need to wire it all up, I think. But I'm just going to glue this in place, so we've got a nice stable platform to build on. So now I'm about to start soldering all this up, and I've got the two wires coming out here. That's from the left hand side can. This is the ground, and this is the audio for the left hand side, which I'm going to solder onto here. The ground is shared by both cans, and soldering is not something I go into too much detail on this channel, but if you're coming along to this video and you're not, you know, a normal subscriber of mine, soldering is not difficult. I taught thousands and thousands of students over the years to solder, and it normally only takes me an hour lesson. Now, the secret to soldering is tinning everything up and having everything clean. Flux you don't have to worry about, because flux, if you've got a good solder, is already included in the solder. Now I've tinned everything up. I want to solder this here onto this part of the plug here. Now I've already pre-tinned that, so I've cleaned my iron, and I'm just going to put a small amount of solder on there, because solder melts solder. And I've got my wire here. Just move that out of the way, and because I've pre-tinned everything, I'm just going to dab a little bit of heat on there, get the solder flowing, and it's as simple as that. I've now got that soldered in place. The amount of things that I find on eBay, headphones, different you know, electronic things, where it's just a simple wire break. I once bought an adapter for the Xbox, I mean the older Xbox that came out, the one with the red ring of death. I bought a Wi-Fi adapter for that Xbox, and I bought it cheap because they'd unfortunately cut the cable on that adapter, and they tried to fix it by super gluing the cable back together again, which I laugh about now, but I got a cheap adapter and it was a very simple fix. Soldering is not difficult. If you just have a play around in an afternoon soldering different things, you'll have it down. It's not a difficult thing to do at all. So I've got the second can wired up. I've wired up the shared ground here, coming in and then coming back out again, ready to solder on that pin just there. I've got this green wire here connected up to the positive on the can, and that's going to be soldered over onto this side here. So pretty straightforward really, and I've left myself plenty of room, plenty of wiggle room, so I can get this into position when I get it all soldered up. And as I said, it's just a matter of getting everything nice and clean, tinning everything up and getting some heat in there and getting that solder to flow. It's as simple as that. And just the same as the opposite side, I'm just going to glue this ring in here. Now here are the headphones. They're all finished, they're all put back together again. The end caps, because I only had one, I made some new ones up using a washer and just filled in the hole using some black coloured epoxy. They finish it off quite nicely, but I'm really pleased how this turned out. I mean, they do sound good. That's something I can't show you here on YouTube, of course, but with these cushions and everything, they just look a lot better and a lot more modern. They've come out really, really well, cleaned up nicely. Now, I have to say, I have got a little bit of a disappointment with these headphones. As I say, I did expect these to be brass, and then I thought there were probably some die-cast metal, but no, they've turned out to be plastic. So when you see these going for around £200, £150 in a good condition, now knowing that they're not brass and they're just plastic, I don't think they're really worth it, to be honest with you, unless you're going to modify them and update the cans that are in these. They don't sound all that good. And I mean, I never tried these, but that's the kind of consensus on all the forums that I've visited over the years and just recently. Yeah, they look nice. I do think they are a beautiful pair of headphones, especially colouring this in black. It has toned them down a little bit and hasn't made them look so garish. I think they look a lot more modern just by painting this black. As I say, I'm pleased how they turned out. I'm just a little bit disappointed with these, that they are just plastic. I didn't expect that from 1972. If you've got any more information on these, then please let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. But overall, I think they're a lovely pair of headphones, but as I say, I'm just a little bit disappointed that these are plastic. Now I just want to run through where I think I'm going to rebuild these antennas, the methods that I'm going to use. Now I just want to run through how I'm going to rebuild these